Hey guys, Demetrius here with Nate Tam. How's it going, Nate?
It's going good. How you been, man?
I have been doing phenomenally. So
Cool.
thanks for making time to join us again. Let's see. We've got some cool stuff that what are we talking about today? So a couple things on the docket today. Um, we are going to get to something I think is interesting, which is can people learn the wrong lessons watching the pros play? And I think that one's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because I have a couple ideas. I mainly one idea, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. That's a
Yeah.
fun one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I thought of this because a guy in Iowa, I was just at a tournament, and the guy was talking to me about something that was like, "Ooh, yeah, that's maybe." Anyway, I kind of did one of those. Okay, so that's where we're going. But then, first, kicking off, I'm going to be talking a little bit about. I've got kind of an announcement to make about some interactive pool training, online group pool training that I have got going on, and I think people are going to be excited, and I know I'm excited to share.
It's
But
very,
first,
very, very cool.
but first, let's I wanted to share one anecdote. I thought it was kind of funny. I want to get people laughing out of the gate. So I was at this tournament, Nate, and the score beats. The score beats for the tournament. So there's a string and you have
Mhm.
beads, and every time you win a game, you slide a bead towards the middle. They have like the big white ball in the middle that keeps the beads from swinging across the center line, so my games can't become his games. But then when you win a game, you slide a bead over by the white ball, and you win another game, you slide another bead over, and it sounds like a great system. They win games, they slide beads over. Very simple, beads over the lights, everybody can see. What could go wrong? But I just have a suggestion for room owners, and is that if you're going to use beads to keep score, then the bead wire should be pretty horizontal to where the beads don't move on their own. And so because if I'm up 2-1 and I mark a game on my side, and the vibration of me sliding my bead over rattles the wire, and all of a sudden games start sliding down on the other side of the wire,
Oh no.
it just doesn't seem like that's optimal. And as I'm watching this, every time I mark a game, I'm marking my game, and then the other two beads that start sliding, I'm trying to shove them back and kind of make sure that they stay. And I'm like, this could really be a source of some confusion, and possibly even like, I mean, this could get ugly. Like something really bad could happen. This seems like bad potential that we don't want. What do you think? Have you ever seen that? The
I've
stay
never
or
had that experience. That just sounds really funny though. It's
anyway.
just what a unique issue to have that doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, like electronic scoring has its own challenges. Coins under the table, man. I'm like old school. I'm like, if something's not, why
Like the
can't we just
coins.
use coins under the table? But the audience can't see the coins or whatever. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was what I had. What have you been up to, Nate? You've been producing some YouTube videos again, huh?
I have. I think I don't know about catching a gear, but I am finally able to sort of spend a little bit more time here and there on these videos. Again, I have such a busy life. I got four kids and then just everything is so crazy. So, yeah, I've been able to make a couple videos. It had been like a year since I had made content, and then in a matter of like 2 weeks, I had two videos and a short come out, and I'm feeling like it's fun and I want to do it. And yeah, it's nice. I did a breaking video and then a video on side pockets that for some reason some people can't wrap their head around, but okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure people know the channel. It's Sensei Nate Plays Pool. And it took me like
Correct.
10
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
to get that right. I kept on saying Sensei Nate teaches pool. I kept on saying, like, I kept on mixing it up, but it's Sensei Nate Plays Pool. It's not that complicated. I should be able to handle that. And
Yeah, maybe I should just change the name to Sensei Nate, but at the same time I'm like, but then it's not pool related and I don't know if
you want to get
whatever.
those algorithms, man. You got to get the algorithms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Algorithms.
And then so the breaking video. So you did one on side pocket. By the way, for people that don't know, he has instructional material. He also has some very humorous shorts. Some of the funniest things like ever are his shorts. It's very fun. And by the way, I gave him an idea for one that I think he's going to do. So
Oh,
I
it's
won't
gonna be
spoil
great.
it, but I'm
No,
really
yeah,
excited.
no spoilers.
But I'm excited to see it coming. So tune into his. You have to subscribe to his channel just to make sure you see that one that's coming. And then But as far as the instructional stuff, it's not just covering all the same stuff everyone else is covering. He's covering the things that are in his mind and his heart. That's like, so for example, the break video. Why don't you just tell people, what you covered in the break video? They're going to want to see the video to really
Yeah,
understand.
okay, so let's see. That first video was a break video. It was a one on the spot with a template rack video.
For
Everyone
for
knows
nine
for
ball.
9 ball. Yeah, 9 ball. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And everyone knows the sort of, pop and stop the cue ball break where the 1 ball goes around, 2 or 3 rails to line up for the corner pocket. And then us amateurs just don't have the stroke for that a lot of times, and we get the 1 ball stuck on the short rail. So I thought I would try to find a break that works by, getting a better shot at the one, maybe not necessarily making more balls or getting a better layout always, but at least being able to control the table off the break. And so I think I did
Let me
that.
let me interject because I want to make sure people understand the problem real clearly. With the one on the spot, playing 9 ball,
Hmm.
using a template rack, if you break off the side rail, the wing ball is very consistently goes to the corner. So you know that you're going to get a shot. You know you're going to make a ball in the break. So then the big challenge is going to be, can you control the 1 ball and get a shot at the one? And so the problem is that when people use a center ball break from the side rail, they pop the wing ball in, and the 1 ball, if most of the time the 1 ball comes to the side rail on the breaker's side of the side pocket, and then tracks and it lays on the head rail where you're breaking from. And the 1 ball goes one rail to the end rail, one rail to the end rail. And and it can be really frustrating. You're breaking in the wing ball, you've got the cue ball in the middle of the table, but all you can ever do is stare at a long rail bank or a safety. And you're like, how do these guys run all these racks? How can I control the 1 ball? And so that's the problem that Nate's trying to solve. And other people have different ways of solving it, but some of them are very challenging. So Nate, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page before you regale them with a solution. It's
So one of the solutions is get a stronger break, right? So hit that 1 ball, smack it a little harder, a little bit of top spin, even a little bit of left spin helps the 1 ball travel around the table if you're trying to do that
so,
pop break.
so your suggestion is to hit it. So what some of the pros do is they hit it so firm that the 1 ball comes off the side rail, goes to the end rail, but then bounces off the end rail and actually comes back out again in front of the corner pocket. It just
Yeah,
takes
and
it takes a lot of stroke.
on the certain conditions, this takes a lot of stroke, right? If they're playing on new cloth and it's slippery balls, obviously that's going to be a little easier to do on clean conditions. But most of us don't play with that, right? So a lot of amateurs look at that break and they're like, how come they can do it and I can't? And I'm hitting the ball as hard as I can. Usually it's condition dependent, or you just don't have the stroke and you got to work on it. So my solution to that is, instead of doing a cut break, which is a different break, and the cut break would also make the wing ball, and then the 1 ball would go below the side pocket and then cross the table. So it kind of lands in a similar spot as a head-on break, but a little bit more towards the side rail. And then it's harder to control the cue ball that way,
I
and you
want
get
to
more
clarify.
kisses.
Because I did see Carlo Beato win the U.S. Open using this break. So one on the spot template rack to avoid the problem of the 1 ball laying on the head rail. Carlo Beato wasn't hitting him square. He was cutting him just a little, not a severe cut, but just to where the cue ball would suck to the side rail he was breaking off of and back to the middle. And that cut would give the one enough extra lateral energy that the one would then go to the end rail, and come off. And so it would go 2 rails and out. So either you have to break really, really hard, or you have to cut break. Either one of those will speed the 1 ball up. More power or a little bit of cut where the one has more power because you're cutting it a little
Right,
bit. So those are
right,
two of the traditional solutions that are both very tough.
right.
The
And
hard break takes too much stroke, and the cut break is hard to control. Yep.
yeah, and the only other solution that most players know about is more of like a stun break, where you try to make the 1 ball in the side, and you also make the wing ball, and you also make more balls, right? You just make as many balls as you can, open up the rack, cue ball's still sort of in the middle of the table, and then attack the rack that way. So I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And then I remember there was an instance, I don't know what big tournament it was, if it was a US Open or International Open or something, but it was a few years ago. They were using a template rack and it was still one on the spot. I saw Shane Van Boning power drawing 2 or 3 rails, the cue ball, right? And he was getting a shot at the 1 ball, like every rack. And I was like, there's there's method behind his madness. He's one of the best breakers in the world. There's got to be something here. There's a there. So I started experimenting with it, and I eventually landed on not the same break, but something similar where I would draw the ball to the middle of the short rail, the cue ball. I would draw the cue ball to the middle of the short rail and then back up table with a little bit of inside, depending on how you aim the shot. There's different ways to do it, but essentially you throw the one ball short of the side pocket, the one ball comes off the long rail and towards the middle of the table. This way you have the one ball coming to the middle of the table and the cue ball coming to the middle of the table at the same time. You always see the one ball at this point, whether or not it's offensive or defensive afterwards, depends on the layout specifically. But at least this way you're not stuck with the head ball or the one ball in the middle of the short rail and the cue ball nowhere good.
Yeah. So the way I would, in my words, is basically instead of stopping the cue ball in the middle and then having the one end up on the head rail again and again and again, and you sit there and be like, well, my cue ball is so controlled. My cue ball is so controlled. Yeah, but the one's always on the head rail. Instead of controlling the cue ball, you control the one ball. You break with low ball. You just suck the cue ball to the head rail and let it draw all the way to the head rail and back out, which, by the way, you don't, people that think that they're doing a power draw, the cue ball, all you have to do is one tip low because the mass of the rack will kick it backwards anyway. So you just let the cue ball drift to the head rail, and you just, by hitting a tip low, the cue ball automatically flings to the head rail and back out, and it's a little bit loose with the cue ball. But then at the one ball, the low ball on the cue ball puts a little bit of high on the one, and the one, instead of sucking up to the head rail, the one just drifts over, bumps the side rail, and sits there in front of the side again and again and again. And so the cue ball and the one ball both end up out in space, out in the middle of the table. And rather than worrying about exactly where the middle of the table the cue ball is, all you know is that the one and the cue ball are going to be near each other out in space, and it's way better. And I'll tell you what, it may sound complicated, but that's why he has a video where you can really see, and he shows a bunch of breaks in a row and you can watch for yourself. And I'm like, boy, this is a big deal because I don't get to play with those break rules very often. But if you do get to play with those break rules, you have to know how to capitalize on it because other people will, if you're playing at a reasonable level anyway. And so for me, that's one I've never tried. I've tried the Carlo Bianco cut break is what I've tried. And I've tried the power break, but those are tough. And so I'm really looking forward to it. Next time somebody's foolish enough to play me with one on the spot in a template rack, trust me, I'm going to Sensei Nate them into a coma.
Yeah, so that was one video. It was fun to do because I've had that video in my head for a while. I've been playing with this break, in secret without telling anyone for the last year and a half, and I'm like, might as well do a video on it.
That's awesome, Nate. I mean, like legitimately, this is what I was talking about with your channel. It's like these are things that they're little tidbits, but for the right, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And then the next video I did last week, I did a video on side pockets where, back cuts to the side pocket are hard to see. A lot of people think that, it's just because you have to aim the object ball towards the facing of the pocket. But I don't know if I proved it, but it's a visual illusion seeing the pocket right. And there's a lot of weird, stupid science stuff in there about
understanding how the brain, there's other phenomenon that the brain does where it's kind of like when the first letter and the last letter of the word are correct and they can scramble the letters in the middle and your brain will still read the word correctly. Like that's like your brain is trying to be helpful. And so it actually scrambles information that's not right and presents it to you in a way where, your brain will see things that aren't there because it's showing you what it thinks is there or what it thinks is useful to you. And so what Nate does is he really goes into some of the illusions. Your brain, there's reasons that your brain literally plays tricks on you with the side pockets, and you really show that and explain that. And it's super cool. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And for some reason, a lot of people think that video is like, whoa, because I showed was it like a simulation of this side pocket cut? Of of the same cut shot, like rolling the ball in, and people were like, whoa, you have to roll it with outside to make the ball. I'm like, the whole point of this video is just, it's all about how you see the pocket. It has nothing to do with how you shoot it. So I think I need to be a little bit more clear about the reason why I make these videos, because so many other creators have made videos on every possible subject there is in pool, and they all do it at least as good or better than I can do it. Why am I going to go around talking about cut and deuce throw if it's already out there? It makes no sense. So for me, it was like no one ever talks about these illusions that your eyes and your brain are playing on you. So that's
Well,
what the video
it's
is
a
about.
tricky
It's
one
not about
because
how to make side pocket shots.
well, it's funny because yeah, you have to cut. If you just want to talk about one thing, which is a specific illusion that your brain creates and how being aware of it can help fall for it, help prevent falling for it, then if that's what your video is about, well, then if you talk about and by the way, there's cut and do stroll. And then, by the way, cut and do stroll occurs more at softer speeds than at firmer speeds. And now let's look at them stroll grids. And let's talk about if you use gearing outside. Now we got to talk about gearing outside, which cancels that. And now we got to talk about side spin and curve and deflection. And now we got to talk about different shafts and how different shafts affect. Like, no, I just want to make
Yeah,
a video. I'm going to cut it off here. Yeah, you got to be able to draw a line.
yeah, it's like the only way I would ever bring that up is like if you need to play position for it. Other than that, I'm just like it's really
That'd be
not part
funny
of the
though.
equation. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
it's like, hey, Demetrius, it's like I haven't talked to you for 8 months. Where have you been? Well, I meant to make a video about side pockets, and it was gonna be a 6 minute video about side pockets, and I ended up making a 280-hour video that encompasses everything you need about pool. I
Oh,
don't know,
that's
man.
so
It just
funny.
snowballed on me. Yeah,
That's so fun. That would make a good short. There you go. There's another idea coming
yeah.
your
It's
way.
like somehow I ended up solving the meaning of life, and anyway, it's like,
Anyway,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
well,
So that's my channel. There it is. I finally getting a little busier. And then I did a short where I shortcutted everything about that break video and I threw it into a short. And then yeah, that's it for me. I'm trying to play a little more. I'm playing well. And that's kind of where I'm at. What about you? What's on your mind?
all right. Well, let's buckle up. We're gonna rock and roll. I'm gonna talk about this. Okay, and so this is tough. I'm obviously unscripted because I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I have some talking points because I want to make sure I cover everything, and I'm excited. Um, Online pool coaching, okay, and interactive group. Okay, what am I? See, this is why I need an outline. I'm just saying words now. I'm just naming words. I'm literally just like, okay, elephant, penguin. Okay, um, deep breath. So I for people that have been following for a while, I was part of a pool room a couple of years ago, Slate Billiard Club. I haven't really talked about it. There's some reasons, but anyway, it turned out that after opening the club, I stepped away from the club because I was going a little bit of a different direction. So right now, the last few years, I've been really focusing on my boot camping, and Slate has been focused on doing what they do, which is it's a private club focused towards pool training and just providing a great learning opportunity for local players to play, train, compete. I love the club and I love my training. It's just that's you can only do so much in your life. Well, I originally had an idea when before that club opened about doing like an online group training. And long and short of it is, I have collaborated now with Slate. I'm still very good friends with the owners. Dave and Chris are the owners of Slate, and I've been very close and really appreciate the relationship. And so basically, we've collaborated, and I have got we have started a online pool training group. So what do I want to share about this? Why? Why don't we talk about why I started this? Why this seems like a good place to go. There's a lot of reasons. So one big thing is the barrier of entry to come work with me. I do 3-day boot camps. I haven't told everybody, maybe I've got some new listeners. I do coaching, I do 3-day pool boot camps. People come train with me for 3 days. It's awesome. I'm in Minnesota, but people fly in, so it doesn't really matter where people are coming from. Come on in, work with me for 3 days, change your pool game and the way you see the table forever. That's what I've been doing for 5-6 years. It's great. And I want to thank everybody who's come out. I don't want to slow down because I got a lot to cover, but really thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. The problem is there's a couple problems. One, the price of entry. There's not everybody can afford to make this trip. Not everybody can afford the travel. Not everybody can afford the time off, especially for people out of the country. I've gotten a lot of emails from guys overseas, which is super cool. Thank you guys. That's awesome. But it's a long way to go. Minnesota's not next door to everybody. And it's not so not everybody could get here. So that barrier of entry hurts me to know that there's a lot of people that really, really, really wish they could work with me. But maybe they, it's not easy out there right now. So I get it. The other thing is that ongoing training is really useful because when I do 3 days with somebody, I can do a lot in 3 days. But as they continue to grow as a player, and there's something about little by little by little, which is more digestible and a little bit, so like if somebody was made of money, if somebody was just like they could hire me as a full-time coach, I would love to spend 3 days with them, but then also do ongoing training with them as well, because there's advantages to each. And so originally I'd solved that by doing this private training group. Everybody that trained with me, I had a private Facebook group where I would throw everybody in this group so I could do some ongoing training with them. That way, people that trained with me, I could try to keep repeating my ideas and coaching them along and watching video updates from them and giving them ongoing guidance. The problem, so that sounds good, but the problems with that, one, that wasn't available for the public. That was just for people that trained with me. And two, that was more like volunteer. So like at the end of everything, it was the bottom of my to-do list where I would do my boot camps and I would take care of my family and I'd play my pool tournaments and I'd do everything else in my life that I needed to do. And then at the end of it, if I had time and energy left over, then I would go to this pool boot camp group and try to like do some stuff with my students. And it was cool. It was really cool. 5 years of doing that. It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't as cool as I wanted it to be. And it was a little bit of a chore. And I wasn't getting paid for doing it. And so not getting paid was a double whammy. One, I'm not getting paid, so it's a chore for me. And two, because of that, the quality was never quite what I thought it could be. So I had
So are you able now to focus on the quality of the engagement because there's a financial, not just incentive, but there's means for you to actually continue doing this better than you could a Facebook group?
Absolutely. A great example is like, I'm sure everybody has had this experience where somebody, a friend or a family member that provides a service. Maybe they do web design or maybe they do painting or something. And they're like, hey, could you help me with this? And then they're like, hey, they try to do it as a favor. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll take care of you. I'll do it as a favor, which sounds great. But then it's always the last thing on their to-do list and they don't do it and it gets delayed and they don't get there when they say, and it ends up getting partly done and then they don't finish it. Or then you feel bad for asking for them to do a better job because now it's not working right, but the amount of time it's going to take for them to fix it is more than you really feel like you can ask for, but you need it done. And you're like, man, I just wish I'd paid somebody to do this. That's the same thing. I was doing this Facebook group and I was like, I wish I could do more for these guys, but it's already a burden for me to even do what I'm doing. And it was just not, that was the problem. So it's better. Sometimes it's better just to say, hey, pay me. And then I can do what I can do. And so that's how this evolved. So basically my Facebook group, instead of just doing it for free with my Facebook group, I'm like, no, I'm going to make a little money so I can put it on my calendar that I'm going to do these things. I can budget hours to do this and I can actually run this group the way I want to and make it available so that there's a more available price of entry for people across the country and even around the world. So that's
very cool. Yeah, that's very cool because now you have opened it up to the world, right? You have so much knowledge and you're such a great instructor that there's more for you to offer, but now you actually have a platform where you get to do that. So what does that actually look like then?
Thank you, Nate, for setting me up. Thank you. We didn't rehearse this, but thank you. So let's see here. Okay. So I've got a note about what it is not, because this is important to me.
Okay.
Is that I am not a content creator. And so Nate mentioned this with his channel earlier. And so I wanted to mention it myself. There are two things. There's different things that you can try to do. Like, what am I trying to provide? And so one thing out there is that there's 1 billion hours of free YouTube videos. And so everybody's got a channel. I don't have a dog, but if I had a dog, the first thing it would do when I got home would be eat, take a dump, and then start a YouTube channel about pool. I'm sorry. I'm should I edit? I'm going to leave that in. Okay.
Oh, you have to.
Okay. I'll leave that in. But anyway, the point is, I should see, this is why I should just stick to the talking points. Okay. Regroup. The point is, I can't do that because there's a few reasons. One, there are better players than me that are doing YouTube content, like Albin Ocean and Neil Spain and guys like that, or not Albin, I'm sorry, Kyle Boys and Darren Appleton, whatever. There's all these good Jasmine Ocean.
Yeah.
That's what I was meant to say.
Hmm.
And then the other problem is there's better editors than me. I mean, Nate, you are. Yeah, I know you said there's other. Listen, you're a phenomenal editor. So me, I'm like, what am I going to compete with? I can't compete with the ability of the top players. I can't compete with the quality of the top producers. And I certainly can't compete with free, which is the price point for all this unbelievable amounts of content out there. I'm like, for me to sit there and provide content and to be like, yeah, I'm going to make you guys videos and you're going to pay me to say, like, no, 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 no. There's zero value for me. And like, I don't think that videos offer value. So I just want to be clear. I'm not making YouTube videos that I'm going to try to sell. What I am doing is let's go to my next talking point. What am I doing, Demetrius? I should know this. So my goal, the difference between, so I'm not trying to do content that you can access for money. What I'm trying to do is coaching, like timeshare coaching, timeshare mentorship, interactive coaching. I think about how I learned pool, and I rode shotgun with guys that were really good players and go to tournaments with them and talk pool with them and spar with them. And just, it wasn't a video. It was living my life with somebody that could really mentor me along. It was mentors and sparring partners. And so with interactive coaching, my goal, of course, one of the mediums I use to communicate is through video, but I'm trying to do a lot of things to make our time together interactive. So one thing is interaction. Another thing is, okay, before I go into how I'm making interactive, some of the things I want to do is I'm going to cover my entire Minnesota Pool Bootcamp playbook. Over the 5-6 years I've been coaching, I've developed a bit of a playbook, certain things that are core to what I teach and how I approach pool. I have that playbook covers things like patterns. It covers things like cue ball. It covers things, different ways of reading the table, different shots I like to use, why these shots, how to connect them, targets, scatters, different things about how I read and play pool. It covers safeties, whether it's 8-ball end games, different, key core safeties and some things you need to know. So that's my physical playbook has certain things I like to cover. One of the problems is with 3 days and people at different skill levels, I can't always cover everything with everybody. And I'm always,
so sorry.
It's okay. I'm always a little regretful that I couldn't delve deeper. So with this, I have time to actually cover the entire playbook little by little in depth. The next part is the mental game training. This is a big deal for me. I've done mental game training. It's been on my website. I've done probably 10 or 12 groups of people where I've gotten 3 people together and done mental game training with them. And Nate, you did a group with that, and we've probably talked about that before.
Yeah, it really is eye-opening. I'll touch on it for a couple of seconds, but really, it's a small group of people talking about mental game, which is so important. And it's different because it is so personalized, right? There are mental game training sessions. I know Niels Fine has his own version of it, but it's so personal because you're just sitting. It's a Zoom chat with a few people about their struggles with the game, and all the insights that you have really is able to cater towards each individual need, and I think that's really useful. We had 3 sessions. It went really well. It has improved my game. My mental Fargo is higher, like clearly higher, and I do feel like I'm playing better because of it. Without trying to talk your ear off, I'm just saying it's worth it. And if that's something that you get as part of this, is seeing those same kind of insights, that it's so funny how we all have the same kind of demons when we play pool, and you have been able to nail down like all the things that I say to myself. They're the same things that, this group of X amount of players also says about themselves. And you have like very clear ideas of, not clear ideas, but you have a very clear sensitivity to what it is going through people's minds, and you can speak directly to it. And in terms of mental game training, it was really eye-opening. And to have that as part of this curriculum is really, really cool. I don't know if that exists anywhere else.
Thank you, Nate. I mean, you're so smart and talented. It's just an honor to have be able to provide value to guys like you. With with what I've done, the first thing I did when I started this Patreon group is that I took three people and I ran them through the course, the mental game coaching, and I ran them through it as a gift for being part of the Patreon group. And they, I got some interesting comments. One person said they were really skeptical. They hate mental game training. They've read books and they've heard other stuff. They said they've always hated it and it doesn't work for them. And they were just blown away and really surprised that this actually connected with them in a way that helped them out. Another person, this is I'm just telling you, I feel it's relevant as a testimonial. This person insisted that they wanted to pay for the course, even though I gave it to them as being part of the Patreon group. And they asked me, how they could pay me, and I reluctantly accepted. I'm like, I will take and then not only did they pay me, they paid me almost double of what retail was, and that was just a gift. And then by the way, that person reached out to me yesterday and asked me how they could gift a Patreon subscription to somebody else because they have a friend that they wanted to buy a year subscription to my group because it's been such a big deal. So this is
what you're telling me is it's really worth it.
So what I've done, just so that people know, the mental game coaching is now available for people that are on the Patreon. You can go back. Now that's not interactive because these are going to be recordings of me teaching other people the mental game system. But then I'm going to get into where it gets interactive with you. But I just had a guy email me last night from overseas. He was concerned because the time zone difference would make it tough to do Zoom training for mental game. So I can't wait. I'm going to send him a link. Shout out. Thank you for emailing me. I'm going to send him a link of this podcast. And he knows that this might be a way that we can do it. So people are going to basically, what I'm going to cover then is I'm going to be teaching my mental game training, my physical playbook of offense, safeties, pattern play, cue ball, whatever. And again, like Nate Tam's channel, it's not going to be everything you've heard everywhere else. There's going to be plenty of overlap, but it's going to be my stuff what you're going to learn. So then I want to get back to what makes it coaching and interactive. I'm doing everything I can to make this interactive and not one-way transmission. This is still new. I haven't talked about it because I wanted to build it before I, took it public. So I've been doing this almost 4 months now. But currently, some of the things that I'm doing is that I'm doing, for example, a Q&A every month, or like a meet up every month. Every month, I budget a couple hours to hang out with whoever wants to join me on a Zoom meeting, and we can hang out and chat, and I can answer questions. Right now, it's just a Zoom meeting where people can jump in. If this grows too large, I could always do like a live stream where people can just type in the chat. But right now, it's a group meeting. So for example, once you go through that mental game training, if you have questions for your mental game or your goal setting, then you can just jump in that call and ask me those questions. And I have time budgeted to actually, that's where I can make it interactive. So I can give everyone the basics and everything I want to teach, but then you can still interact and ask me, and we can take it where you want to go. So that's one way to make it interactive. Another thing I've been doing is, of course, video reviews for people. People, play a little bit. They send me a video so I can review their play. Now, something I've started doing with that is I've been trying to rope other Patreon members in so that as I review their play, I've got one or two other people on the line watching with me so that I'm coaching the people I'm on the call with, but at the same time giving feedback to the person who sent me the video, and then I'm posting it for everybody to see and follow along with. And that's been going really well. So that's the video review. I've been doing pattern reviews where each month, I'll let you, why don't you speak about this one, Nate?
Yeah, because I've been involved with this for a little bit now since you mentioned to me. Perks of being on the inside is I get insider knowledge that this is happening, and it's so great for training because now I have no problem tackling things myself, right? You know this about me. I'm very much a deep diver on my own, but to have it really is constant interaction with you and other players who are tackling the same problems, including patterns, specific like mark patterns. I've never really trained mark patterns. It's fun.
What do you mean?
Because it's a little bit new.
I don't know.
Okay, so yeah. Sorry. So we do a pattern of the month, right? And that's a marked run out where you have balls marked on the table, and you try to figure out the best pattern to play these balls. And it's really eye-opening in terms of understanding key transitions and knowing the right shots for the right angles, because those are things that without being really astute and knowledgeable already, or really sensitive to where you're messing up as a player, previous to any of this kind of training, like it's really hard to know. But then you start working on these sort of marked runouts. It becomes very obvious after just like 30-45 minutes of looking at one pattern, and then you have other players also chiming in on what they think the right positional zones are, submitting their own videos of like how they're running it out. And then, at the end of the month, you go in and you say, okay, let's dissect exactly what's happening, players. And then it just becomes really valuable. If all we did was just the marked runouts, it would still make up for its cost. Like, it's so worth it.
I think I get almost trembling with excitement here, guys, how important this is to me. What I've learned, and he mentioned something about creating positional zones. One thing that I've done, and it has changed everything, is that I used to ask people, how would you run these balls? And people would say, I'd shoot the one on the side and the two in the corner and bounce over there. Yeah. But when I started asking people to draw, I give people the tools to draw out where they think the targets are for each shot. And it is totally a different game, because you could have 5 guys that all name the right balls to the right pockets. But when they draw their zones, it shows huge leaks in their cue ball toolbox, in their pattern understanding, in their ability to understand percentages or overlooking. And then, okay, this is where I get really excited. So that approach where I have people draw out the zones, it is just transcendent. It's a way superior. And then the other part is, I love this because one of the challenges, I've got challenges with this group like I haven't had with one-on-one training. One is I'm speaking one-way transmission oftentimes to large groups of people at different skill levels. So what I've been trying to do is I very well, I think, is burn it from both ends, where I've got some stuff that I'm building from the ground up for people that are on the lower skill level. And on the other hand, I'm speaking a language. And I thought about, like, I was going to the higher level and teaching really advanced concepts, even if it's just a nuance here and there, because I think about how you teach kids to speak and write. On the one hand, you teach them simple words and simple things, but then on the other hand, you're also speaking the language fluently around them so they can hear what it sounds like. And what I'm doing is I'm teaching the basics, or I'm teaching some basic concepts, but I'm also showing what it looks like when it comes together and speaking a language that maybe not everybody understands yet. And then by burning it from both sides, people can work on what they're at now, but then they're getting constantly exposed to the ideas that they're going to need as they go forward. And so that's the reason these pattern reviews are great, because I can see watching where people draw boxes. Like if all somebody did was draw their targets on the table and send me an email, I could tell you their Fargo rate just based on exactly what their targets that they drew were. I know what their cue ball skills are. I know how they read the table. I don't even need to see them hit a ball. Draw targets and I'll tell you what you're missing. Okay. So,
and I think that's your strength as a coach, by the way. Not to sidetrack us, but like that's because not everyone can do that. Not every great player is a good instructor, and vice versa. But I think your strength is being able to look at the way somebody processes a pattern and just be like, I see you. Here's what to do. Like, it's so valuable.
Thank you, Dave. Another thing. So I'm trying to stick to what I'm trying to remember to do is stick to things that make this interactive. So I've mentioned the pattern reviews, where then I show my pattern, I show my boxes, but then I also review and talk about other people's boxes. I do the interactive, the Q&A, I do the, whatever. But another thing that I think is cool, and I've just started to do this, is I had a plan of some of the content I was going to make, or the videos, I shouldn't say content, but some of the coaching I was going to give, going through my playbook. But now I'm going through my playbook, but I'm going through it a little bit more slowly and budgeting time to make videos in response to stuff I think people need. So, for example, Fam sent in a ghost video last month where he had several things about side pocket struggles, playing position off side pockets. He ran into problems several times. This month, then I put out a video where I talked about situations with side pockets and how to play them correctly, because a lot of people do things wrong. Another one, I won't name their name, but there was a player in one of the pattern reviews. They suggested the way to get from ball A to ball B was using a certain shot. It wasn't the right shot, and it showed me that they lacked the correct tool. And so now I'm going to put together a video for that person talking about why this tool is better and some things they need to know about it. So basically, I'm budgeting now half of my time is going to be covering the stuff I planned on covering, but I'm budgeting a large portion of my time and energy to make independent video responses to people. So what I like about this is I know it's helping those people, and I know other people are going to be benefit from watching that. But it also rewards the people that are interactive, and the people that are rolling up their sleeves and posting responses and posting their pattern reviews and posting their videos. I'm going to be making my responses for the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. So that's something I've started doing. I've got other ideas. Listen, in the interest of time, I can't tell you everything I know and everything what I'm trying to work on, because that would be overwhelming. I'm working, for example, on a drill of the month where I did this in my Facebook group where we had a queue of drills that we rotated through and competed against each other for high scores. I've got other stuff planned, but I think instead of telling you everything I can tell you, I'll stop on that talking point and just say, I'm not a content creator. I'm a coach. I'm going to be coaching mental game, physical game, patterns, cue ball, everything in my whole playbook. And I'm going to be doing it in an interactive way where I'm going to be in your corner on a timeshare basis. Then,
Right.
Yeah. So then, let's see here. Yeah, couple things. I'm just going to wrap this up pretty quick. Cost. It's $20 a month to join, which it's funny. A couple thoughts about this. I wish it was like originally, once upon a time in my mind, it was 10, because I'm like, man, I wish I could make this just like as close to free as possible. But $20 is the new 10. So for anybody that's like, man, $20 a month, I wish it was 10. It is basically, it's just the cost of living, guys. $20 is the new 10. So that's the first thing I'll say. It's $20. The other thing is, I always wish I could do more. So when I'm putting this stuff out there and I'm like, gosh, I wish I could do more for people. And then I look at what I'm doing for people. I'm like, at the end of the year, if you spend $240 as part of this group for a year, if you don't feel like you've gotten 5 times your money's worth, then something is seriously wrong.
Yeah, you say $20 is the new 10, but it's not worth $20. It's worth $200. You know, like it's seriously worth so much more, just based off of the time I've spent on the platform. And I try to be active and engaged in it. It really is worth more than that.
Well, thank you. If I had to tell what I thought it was worth right now, it probably should be 75 to 100. The only thing is that as we get more members, because this is the first time I've talked about it publicly. I'm opening it up to the public. As the number of members grows, my availability, as far as how many video reviews I can do, or how many Q&A, how much of my bandwidth you get will diminish a little bit. And so it'll always be worth more than 20, but that's why and plus this is not a money grab, obviously. I just wanted to explain. No. I just want everybody involved, and I'm doing this. Anybody that can't tell that this is a labor of love, it's a labor of love. So, and then, let's see, I had 1 or 2 other things I wanted to say about that. It also, by the way, I want people to know that it's support. I mean, I'm a starving artist. I do this out of love. Slate is not they're not doing it to make money. Slate's going to get some of the revenue. I'm going to get, the revenue, and it's going to keep us going. So we're doing good things. Slate's put on some great tournaments. They're going to be putting on some bigger tournaments that people might even travel to. I've got, all my boot camps and all the stuff I'm doing for people, the podcast, whatever. If you love the podcast, that's what I'd say too, is for people, if you love this podcast, this is just like taking it from 2D to 3D. It's going to be more, it's going to be interactive, and we're going to get deeper into stuff because we have tables and cameras and diagrams. And it's, if you like hearing me and you like geeking out on mental game and physical game, you will want to be part of this. So,
so quick then, my question then is, if it's all about like really deep diving, is it only for advanced players, or is it really covering all bases?
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you telling me. It's definitely for all levels. This, unlike my 3-day boot camp, that's another thing. Not only was there a barrier to entry with price and time, but with skill. I've got a lot of players that are, 300 Fargo, 400 Fargo, and that didn't think that they were ready for a 3-day boot camp. And so now I'm like, yeah, jump on in. I can get you a long way. And then I did want to mention, this doesn't replace the boot camp. I have some people that have come trained with me physically. And one guy, was actually, he emailed me. He was a little disconcerted. He's like, man, I came there and paid good money and did all this, and now you're just going to give it all away for free. And so I called him and we talked, and he realized, he actually sent me a really heartfelt email, It hit me in the cockles of the heart, because he went, and it was his journal. Basically, he journaled, and he didn't journal it. He described to me from his journal his experience here, where what it was like calling me and signing up, what it was like flying out here, what it was like when I picked him up and he saw the pool table that he's seen in my videos or my video, and he's staying in the room with the New York, he's staying in this room. You can see the bed in the background. And he's like, all of a sudden I was here and I saw your table. And then he says, then we hit some balls together. He's describing his experience on night one. Before we started training, we hit some balls together on the night before. And he's like, you just got back from Derby and you just lost a bad match to Billy Thorpe. He says, you had your revenge stroke going, and you just blew me off the table for an hour and a half. And it was just awesome, because I guess that's what he called it, revenge stroke. I was feeling a little feisty. And so then he describes what it was like to train with me for 3 days, and the breakthroughs he had, and all of it. He was going through his notebook, looking at all the stuff we did and all the breakthroughs he had. And at the end of it, he's like, yeah, he sent me the email. He's like, yeah, nothing can replace that experience. And so for anybody that's torn about, should I work with them in person or should I do the Patreon group? Like, obviously everybody should jump in this group. It's going to be awesome, but it's not meant to replace. There are things that I cannot do with people without having them next to me, and things that we could take years and years poking around, where it just give me 3 days and I'll make some changes. So this is not meant to replace that. I still count on people coming here to train, and I expect it'll be better. I think really both. I think people should do both. But if you're not at the level to train with me in person, or if you don't have the finances to train with me in person at the moment, jump in this group. Let's go on. Let's get it going on. And when the timing's right, I'll be here for you. So cool.
Very cool.
Thank you guys. And I want to thank everybody. Like, this is awesome. I wake up every day. I don't deserve it. I don't feel like I deserve it. But I'm very, very grateful. And I express my gratitude by bleeding to do everything I can to help you guys have not just more success on the table, but more fun. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So the Patreon is called Slate Billiard.
That's a good call to action, right? It's actually, if you go to Slate Billiard Club's website and then click on, Patreon. So I will link it in the description of whether it's a YouTube video or a podcast you're watching. Just go to the description. It'll be linked. But please jump on in and help me keep going, and let me help you hit your pool goals. All right. Thanks.
Very cool. Slate Billiard Club. Do it. It really is worth it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Time to let you shine a little bit, Nate. What if somebody's watching the pros and then just trying to follow their lead? How could that go wrong? Like, isn't that...
Keep going. No, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's all I had. I don't know.
What can go wrong with pool? Nothing. It's the easiest. It's easy game. They only make it look hard, right? It really is the opposite of that. They make it look so easy by effortlessly doing very difficult things. Yeah,
I have to jump in. This is so funny. This is a true story about the illusion of ease. There is a YouTuber. He's got millions of subscribers. A lot of people are going to know him. Harry Mack. Do you know who Harry Mack is?
Yeah. Wait, is he the rapper?
The freestyle rapper.
Oh, he's so good. Oh, man.
So I've been watching some Harry Mack because I love words and wordplay, and what he does, if you guys haven't seen it, it is the sick. He basically, you give him random topics and random things to talk about and he just starts freestyling a rap, and it's so incredible. And so anyway, the whole point I bring this up, he is so good. He is so good that after watching 20 minutes of him rapping, I'm like, well, I could do that. Just give me no, I'm like, so I'm like, well, let me, like, I'm just in my own mind. I'm like, I could do that. I could just pick a few words and I can't even think of the first word to say. Like, I'm like, oh, I could do that. Here, I'll just do. And then I start thinking about what I would say. I can't even think of one word but for just a split second, I thought I could be the best freestyle rapper in the world. For no reason. But anyway,
yeah. So we as pool players have that, but in spades. It's amazing what we think we can do when we see a pro pool player do it. And then you lean up for your next buddy and you say, so he should have done this instead when he misses. Like, it's so, Oh man, I mean that's a whole other topic. But so, are there things a pro does you shouldn't do? Um, look, you gotta take everything with a grain of salt. Everything comes with a caveat, um, and everything in moderation. The first thing that comes to my mind is how to strike a ball, right? Um, we learn we learn so often as beginners to to hit a ball pocket speed. You learn what pocket speed is, and then you have all these ball bunters in APA 3 and 4, just like trying to make sure that they make every ball that they're aiming at by like hitting softly, or vice versa, where you only have one speed and the speed is firm, right? But then you watch a pro player and it looks like every shot that they shoot is firm or medium, and it feels like it's easy for them and they're physically comfortable. And I don't really know exactly where I'm going with this, but all I know is the way a pro hits a ball is so much sweeter than the way you hit a ball that you cannot possibly, just by watching him, think that you can hit the same stroke. Like imagine like a super sweet, stun draw out to the rail into the middle of the table, cutting a ball down the corner. It looks so easy, it looks so sweet, and then you try it and it will not go well.
So there's several things in that one point that kind of overlap what I was thinking. So one thing is that if you interpret, you have to be careful that you might interpret what they're doing incorrectly. So for example, if you see what looks like really, if you see the way they stroke the ball and the way the cue ball reacts, you might think, man, they're hitting that extremely hard. Because for you, with your technique and your tip accuracy, you would need to hit it really hard to get it to work that way. So
Right.
then you're like, well, pros hit everything really hard. And so then you go and you hit balls too hard, but they weren't using power. They were using different techniques like timing and tip accuracy. But but you didn't so you misinterpreted it, and now you're going down the wrong road because you
Right.
couldn't interpret it correctly because you don't have that understanding of how they're doing it. That's one thing that kind of Nate's referencing.
Yeah.
Another thing he's kind of referencing is some things that you just don't have the skill to duplicate. So like maybe they use a really long bridge, but they have a stroke that's so accurate and so smooth and so effortless that they don't lose accuracy with a 14-inch bridge. And then if you try to duplicate that, you might not have the same success because you don't have that technique, and it might not be optimal for you. It's maybe not the right gear. So there might be physical things that they do differently that you can't would not be advised to duplicate out of the gate, right?
Oh man, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen like fellow uh, amateurs play with like a literally 16-inch bridge and with no need for it. It's not like they're reaching a shot. It's like they voluntarily do it and then they ask themselves why they can't hit the ball as well. And it bothers them every time. I'm like if they ask me like what am I doing wrong? I'm like not much other than like maybe cut your bridge length in half and just see what happens, right? Just see what happens. And they're like, "Oh no, not really. I'll do a little bit." And then they shorten it by half an inch or an inch, and then they make a ball, and they're like, "Oh, see, that's all I need. A long bridge is fine." It bothers me. It bothers me seeing amateurs with really long bridges,
Let
and
me
that's
teach you.
and that's mostly because I've had to shorten my bridge over the last couple of years, and it's made me a better player. And so this is coming from a learning place in my mind, not from a judgmental like I'm better than you. Please use a shorter bridge than I do.
No,
Like it's not like that.
you know the pain it's caused you, and you're trying to save
No.
other people. This is where, for me, I have a simple mantra that I use that helps me. It's that's my competition. That's my competition. See, as long as I look at these other people like with compassion, like I want them to succeed, and watching them suffer hurts me, then I watch them do these things and it really hurts. But once I flip the switch and think about it like they're my competition, those are the guys I need to beat. That these are guys I'm going to be playing in tournaments. Fargo rate and success is all relative based on relative skill. If other people want to play really badly and make me look better and drive me to where, I mean, I could, if everybody was better than me at pool, I wouldn't have a teaching. I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So it's My success is built on the mistakes of bad players. And so I have to just thank them. Thank you. Use a 20-inch bridge and just keep running it. Keep running anyway. So that's what I have to tell myself to kind of like stop the pain in my heart. Yeah.
What else? What else do you see that a pro might do that a amateur will try to copy and justify in their own game?
So I've got a big one, but another thing that's something that people should know is that the pros, when you're watching them, are playing on brand new cloth. And that is a tremendously different pool game than playing on worn cloth. It's not the same game. For people that don't know, actually, Neil Span has a really, really good video about it. New cloth versus old cloth. I think it's the best video on it out there. And he talks about this. And so one thing is easier and one thing is harder. The thing that's easier is the cue ball does not develop roll the way it does on a worn cloth. The friction, because the friction of the cloth is less, that if you start a ball with draw, it's a lot easier to draw a ball. And if you want to follow a ball, it's actually harder to follow a ball because you have to cue quite a bit higher than you might normally on certain types of shots because you're not getting help from the table bed to develop the cue ball into a roll. And I remember a pro tournament, one of my first I played, the World Summit of Pool. I remember a follow shot I dogged. And I had, because I shot it a tip above center thinking that that's high enough. And the cue ball slid 6 feet across the table, knocked the ball in. And instead of rolling it, like it just like rocked. I'm dead hooked. And it ended up like, I was like, ooh, it was just, and then afterwards, the guy I played who'd been around a bit longer, he came and explained to me, hey, new cloth, you got to cue him high, man. And so anyway, I got way sidetracked. But the point is, new cloth, the draw is easier. And so sliding the ball. So pros will stun the ball in spots where I will not, where I will roll the ball. And then on the other hand, the thing that's harder is side spin. Side spin on new cloth. On the rails, when the rails are slick with new cloth, the side spin doesn't grab off the side rails the same way. And it's funny because if it's running English, if you're using running English, it can still help open up the angles. But when you're using reverse English and inside English, it doesn't grab the same. And so you have to know how the spin will grab differently, and then how that affects your shot selection. So in the end, there's a learning to play on new cloth is a whole experience of little by little understanding differences in percentages. But the long and short of it is, if you're watching the pros play, you might get the impression that the right way to play is to draw your ball around the table all the time. And when you go to a worn cloth table, that'll chew you up and spit you out. It's just too much power. It takes too much power on worn cloth. And you have, that tool is too difficult to use. But meanwhile, side spin becomes even more valuable. And so I play a much more, in pool rooms, I play a much more rolly, spinny game. And then when I go to the pro tournaments, I play a much more slidey, twisty game. It's a big difference. Roll and spin versus slide and twist. And you always use both. It's just people watching the pros might learn the wrong lesson. They might be playing a slidey game and a drawy game.
Right. And they ask why Josh Filler stuns every ball he can. I think part of it is shot making, and part of it is also it's the equipment allows you to do that. It doesn't mean you have to be a stun player. Now, for me, I like stunning the ball. We can get into this another time if you want, because I think that's a passion of mine is learning how to stun a ball right, and opting to stun balls when maybe the smart shot is to roll a ball with outside. But for me, I think the physical optimizing of playing a stun shot for me feels so good that I often play better when I just tell myself to play stun game. Anyway, that's a whole different topic.
There's a lot to it, because there's a lot to it, which is sometimes the advantage of a follow is the cue ball scatter versus ease of pocketing. But sometimes the ease of pocketing becomes the priority, and sliding the ball. There's plenty of times when I use a low outside hook draw rather than a high outside going. Instead of following to the end rail, 2 rails to the middle, I might hook it to the side rail to the middle if I get to slide at it. So there's a trade-off, which is more important, the cue ball scatter or the shot striking. There's also obviously different equipment, different types of shots. There's also the whole question about, have we developed our skills to the right level in all these ways? I know somebody that rolls the ball too much and that's a telltale sign he actually hasn't developed his low ball power striking game. But on the other hand, I know people that like to strike the balls more, where they're overlooking, maybe they could get more. So it's a little bit, am I comfortable enough with all my tools, or when do I use them, and why is the priority? And of course, you use both. So there's a lot that goes into it. But obviously, I care a lot about stuns, because the last 4 or 5 weeks of the Patreon, I've been doing a lot of stun work. I've been stun. So I'm a big.
I'm gonna tackle some of those tonight. I'm gonna get a chance on the table tonight. I'm gonna go do some stun work, and then maybe even do a pattern video. We'll see.
Outstanding. So one last thing that's been on my mind with the things that you can learn incorrectly from top players. I had this idea because I was at this tournament, and one of my former students, shout out to Tracy from Oklahoma. Funny story, man. He got here for a 3-day boot camp. He drove up here and his car broke down. Oh, and no. He got here, but then he couldn't get home. And it was New Year's Eve. And so everything was going to be shut down for 3 days. And rental car companies were to shut down from like Friday night till Tuesday at 1, because Monday was like the first. And it was just like this weird deal where he was almost, anyway, he got kind of stranded here. But you know what? Memories, Tracy. It turned out to be a painful and expensive trip for him. He bought a new car. It's a funny story. Oh. Anyway, but we'll never forget it, man. So I saw Tracy at the Iowa tournament here, and he was talking about how the pros make straight in shots. And he was talking about their success rate with straight shots, and how, like if they have like a full court straight in shot, how, they might be 95 to 98% where they just get down and it just goes in. What feels like every time they never miss those.
That's funny.
And
because I know that's not right.
Well, what were you going to say about that?
I think it's less than 98% by a lot.
It depends on what you set up. Like, it depends on what you're. So let's just.
Oh, I thought you meant like full table.
Let's just say that
straight in.
Say the cue ball's on the spot, or like where you'd rack. Say the cue ball's where you'd rack the nut. Mm-hmm. And the ball they're shooting is halfway between that and one of the corner pockets, where they're shooting up into the top corner, diagonally, across the table. Maybe not quite diagonally across the table, but kind of like a mighty extra, like a mighty extra.
Okay. Yeah.
But the ball's not so close to the pocket. They got like a 6 or 7 diamond, shot across the table. They're bridged on the table, but they got a full table length straight in shot.
They're comfortable. They're physically comfortable. It's not a weird shot.
Okay. Object ball's halfway to the pocket.
All right. Yeah. Go on.
So he was very frustrated that his success rate isn't that high, and that it feels so, day after day, he struggles to make those balls, and that some days he makes them and feels right. Some days he doesn't see them right, and his stroke isn't straight. And for whatever reason, he just can't count on them. And every time these shots come up in a match, they're difficult to him, and he can't count on them, where the top players, it looks like they just shoot them right in. And so the concern I had for him is, I think that trying to duplicate the confidence and success rate of a top 800 plus Fargo rate on those shots is an exercise in futility. Because for me, I'm over 700 Fargo, played the game for 30 years. And if you set that shot up for me, and I went in and just warmed up with 5, 10, 20 shots, and then you set that up for me, and it was in a game, I would sweat that shot. And when I practice those types of shots, there are days when it's grooved and I feel like it's easy, but there are days when I get down and it's not going where I think, and my stroke doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel like I'm synced up with my eyes and my sighting and my cue. And there's days when I'm cutting them to the right, I'm cutting them hanging up on the rail, and I'm fighting myself, and I can grind them in a little bit, but if I don't grind them, they're just going to go a little bit off track. And I for 10 years, I tried to figure it out. Maybe it's my bridge, or maybe it's my toe, or maybe it's my elbow, or maybe what about my eye sighting or whatever. And the problem is your body and bridge and eye sighting and stroke are very complicated. And there's 100 moving parts, and feel is a funny thing. And if you try to write down all the moving parts and understand what makes you feel the way you feel when they go straight, I don't know, man. I tried it for years, trying to figure it out and remember and retain. And it's still a crapshoot about what happens on those long straight shots. And I missed one against Josh Roberts that cost me. It might not have cost me the set, but it eliminated me from the tournament. And it, maybe if I'd made that shot. So it's like, I still miss them, and they're still tough for me. So what made me think about it? Now, I'm going to turn it over to you in a second, where you can talk about your thoughts on this. But for me, there was a well here. Why don't you go ahead? Because I don't want to change the subject.
Specifically on that shot.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, is it can you
Um,
duplicate the success of a top pro on these long diagonals?
no, 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 no. You can't.
My premise
There's
is
no
that
possible way.
people could get obsessive and crazy and try to like beat their head against the wall trying to do something that you're not going to do if you don't play from the age of 12 internationally.
Yeah. So I have a friend of mine runs the Post Up um, YouTube channel out of Hard Times in Sacramento. It's Oscar's place. And he's got this really crazy setup where he's got these lasers and cameras set up on a table where players can pay to go in and work on their stroke. And they can literally, physically, visually see objectively how are they cueing? Are they cueing straight? Is it left? Is it right? What's the speed? That kind of stuff, right? And he said since he started doing this, he has had a much better percentage of like figuring out how to get a ball to go straight. And so it's just one of those things where I think human beings are human beings. We don't live the same day like the last ever. And and to have the objectivity either of a system like that or to literally have 8 to 10 hours a day playing like a pro does over and over throughout many years of your life to finally be able to see the ball right most of the time. That just doesn't, we can't do that. We just can't replicate that. So it's futile. You're right.
And that's what exactly what I was thinking. So there was a fun episode. Anyway, Magnus Carlsen was interviewed and he was asked about playing the computer, playing the AI. And for those that don't know,
Chess.
top engines are approaching 3,800 or right around 3,800, okay, which is anyway, it's like if put it this way, if Fargo rate, if you know what Fargo rate is, it would be like the top if an AI played at 1,800 Fargo, where it was like 1,000 Fargo points greater than filler. So not only is it better than humans, it's insurmountably better. Magnus could play 1,000,000 games of chess against this AI and never draw a game. It's impossible. It's just impossible. So he was asked if he ever plays the computer, and he said no. And the interviewer, it was actually on the Joe Rogan show, and Joe Rogan is like, he's a competitor. He's like, well, how come you wouldn't play? And I listened to him because I wanted to hear that episode. I like to hear Vegas. And so he's like, well, why wouldn't you want to play the computer if nobody else can beat you, but the computer can beat you? Then wouldn't you want to play the computer because it's the only thing that beats you? It's the only thing that can show you where you're weak, and maybe you could figure out where you're weak and get stronger there, or see something that you can't do, and it can inspire you to follow that path. Like, wouldn't you want to play a better opponent to try to keep getting better? And Magnus, I was really frustrated. Didn't really have a good answer. I didn't like his answer, but it's a logical question. It sounds right because usually playing better players will make you better. But that's only if you can duplicate and learn from what they're doing. And the problem is that the things that this computer is doing playing chess are superhuman. They are not things that you could follow and duplicate. And so the example I wanted to use, and I was shouting in my car, so now you guys get to hear it. Suppose you had the best MMA fighter in the world and nobody could beat him. So to get better and be tested, they decide to wrestle against an 800-pound silverback gorilla. And so they get in the ring and they start doing their thing, and then the gorilla just grabs them and smashes them into the ground. And they do that a dozen times. At some point, this guy might be like, you know what? I don't want to wrestle the gorilla anymore. And if you're like, well, why not? I mean, won't he show you where you're weak? And then you can maybe like learn from those losses and get better. It's like, well, I'm never going to just turn into a goddamn super, 800-pound gorilla. Like I can't, what am I going to do? He's 800 pounds. He's going to smash me in the ground every time. There's nothing to learn from that. And that's like playing these chess bots. There are things you can learn from the chess computers. There's certain things on certain positions that you might learn a new idea. Or on this opening, you might find out that there's actually a good refutation if they ever push the A pawn or whatever. It's like you can learn little nuances, and there's some cool things that you can learn from computers. But one thing you cannot learn from computers is how to calculate trillions and trillions of positions in a matter of a second. So anything that involves that, you're not going to duplicate. So getting back to Poole, when I watch Filler striking balls, he is equivalent. He is just as far from you as the computer is from Magnus. watching him do what he does, you can't. There are some things you can learn, but the point is, you need to know what are the things you can grow from and learn versus what are the things you'll never duplicate, and it'll just be pounding your head against the wall, throwing away the time and energy you do have to learn stuff you could learn. And that's one of the reasons I teach what I teach, is because I try to help people figure out the difference between the things they can change, having the courage to change the things that they can, and having the serenity to accept some of the stuff we can't. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's wisdom right there. It's also, when it comes to trying to replicate, pros and replicating that long straight in, it's, if you put that in a game context, like if you're a 500 player and you go up against a 750, what are you really playing? It's like I think there's a reason why, and I think I mentioned this when we did our flow state podcast, and when I did my flow state video. It really is all about trying to play at the edge of your ability. You're not trying to keep up with something unsurmountable where you are, right? You want to try to push yourself where you are. Progress happens at the edge of your performance, not beyond your performance by 2x. It doesn't work that way, right? So my idea of finding, like, I've been able to improve a decent amount, and I think that's because recently, and that's because when I'm sparring right now, I have so
I'm just joking. I know, because when you're sparring.
So when I'm sparring right now, oftentimes it's against a player who's better than me, but not by a mile, right? He's that 5 to 10% better than me in most cases, where I can really, if I push myself and if I really pay attention and I'm really focused, I can sort of, the skills I'm learning transcend above my edge because they're actually accessible, right?
100%. I think that a great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Yeah. No. That's it. That really is it.
I think it's really important, guys, that when the takeaways, like if it's like, what do I take away from this? You have to understand the difference between the things you can duplicate versus the things that are out of reach. And one great way to do that, and there's also priorities, like what should you work on first? So I think it's important to watch the top pros play, to see what's possible, to have your brain visualize and internalize some of these images, and show the bar that's possible to clear. And you use that like a North Star to guide your pool game. Like, I want to go that direction. But then to figure out what the next step is. See, then there's a difference between where do I want to head versus what's my first step. And so I think a great thing to do is to look at, like Nate's saying, look at the guys around you that you're gunning for, that are a little bit better than you. If you're a 500 Fargo, watch the 850s, but then also watch the 560s and figure out what are they doing. And maybe on your best days, you can hang with them, or if they, you take sets off them, but what are they doing that's making them consistently better than you? And because that's going to show you where you can get to from where you're at. And so I think that's really good. And I think that that's one of the reasons when I teach, it's like, I'm really trying to show people the levels that are accessible and what's going to give them a good return on investment of their energy. Because trying to spend 50 years hitting the ball like filler or drawing the Mighty X drill, it's like, you'll never be fed or coursed. So do you have to ask yourself a question, which is more important to you? Being right about the direction you're on and telling yourself some hero story about how you're going to spend 10 hours a day practicing the Mighty X drill until you're fed or coursed, and then the world will see how determined and superior you are. If you really like that story and you want to just keep shooting balls and then losing matches and wondering when does your story come true, you can do that. Or you can work with me or figure it out and work with Nate and just, we'll get you like, there's maybe something else you could do, because pool is very multidimensional and there's more to it than becoming an 800-pound gorilla.
Don't work with me, work with Demi. I'm not a coach.
Yeah. But I forget, because you're very active in this little pool group. So
yeah.
So you're when you do those videos and you're doing the pattern of the month and you're doing videos of you doing it, people learn. That's awesome, man. It's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, it's mostly me learning. And then, if by proxy somebody else is also learning, great. But it's almost everything I do, whether it's my YouTube channel or my activity on Patreon, it's all selfish.
Good.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, man, I get it. I mean, that's like, isn't there some big philosophical question? Everything ultimately is, even when you donate money, it's because it makes you feel, it's like, you know what, I mean, from that point of view, we're all selfish. So if I'll tell you what, if you're selfish, if you're selfishly inspiring other people and helping them on their journey and sharing that experience in a way that makes all of our journeys more enjoyable, then you can be selfish as much as you want. So cool. That's what I had, Nate. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Cool. So
Yeah.
anybody that want to contact me, you can go to info@mnpoolbootcamp.com, MN like Minnesota, poolbootcamp.com. I'll link my website as well as the Slate Patreon in the description. Love to hear from you guys. I'm counting on it. I don't know you, but I'll know if you're not there, I'll be upset. So good.
Very
Thanks, Nate.
cool. Thank you.